Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Star Wars Vintage Collection E-Wing Fighter from the Ahsoka TV series. Now, the E-Wing Fighter, to kind of just go back a little bit, I believe originally premiered in the 1991 Star Wars Dark Empire comic book. And I don't remember if I first saw it there in the comic, which I did pick up and I did read back then, or if I'd seen it in a resource guide for the Star Wars role-playing game. Needless to say, I saw it in one of those two places first, and I instantly fell in love with that thing and thought it was just the coolest looking Star Wars ship ever. I thought it was way better than the X-Wing or the A-Wing or the Y-Wing or the B-Wing or, you know, any of the TIE fighters or anything. I just thought it was the coolest looking ship ever. Now, they did make some slight changes to it. It doesn't look exactly 100% identical to the way it was originally pictured back in the day, when they kind of updated it for the Star Wars Ahsoka series. But overall, it's pretty much what I fell in love with back in the day. When I saw that in the Ahsoka series, I thought it just looked absolutely perfect. I thought the changes they did make actually, you know, kind of made it look better, in my opinion. And I thought it was already a really, really cool looking ship. And so, you know, we had never gotten a toy, at least not in, you know, a scale that would accommodate an action figure of the E-Wing before. I think we got back in the day, the Micro Machines, I think, had put out an E-Wing back in the early to mid 90s. We may have gotten something else for some of the role-playing games. I'm not sure, but obviously nothing to this scale that we have here. And so when this went up for pre-order back in February earlier this year, I was just totally on board 100%. And I don't do a lot of pre-orders. In fact, I don't really do any pre-orders, but knowing this was a Hasbro Pulse exclusive and might be kind of hard to pick up elsewhere, I was going to go ahead and jump on it because I still am very much in love with the 1/18 scale stuff. In fact, my favorite display in my collection room is my 1/18 scale display. And you know, I love this stuff. I've loved this stuff since I was a kid. Whether it's Star Wars, G.I. Joe, that scale of figure that works just, in my opinion, perfectly with vehicles and ships and things like that, is to me still kind of the perfect size action figure. And I know I don't talk about 1/18 scale stuff a lot on the channel, but I still love it, and I knew this was something that I absolutely had to pick up. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what this thing looks like outside of the box. And here we have it out of the package, looking freaking sweet. I mean, this thing looks fantastic. I love what they did with this thing. I mean, it looks absolutely gorgeous pretty much across the board. It's got fantastic, amazing detailing on this thing pretty much everywhere you look. I mean, just really, really, really well done. And we'll get some more close-ups here, and I'll show you some more of the details and the things it can do. But I just kind of want to set it there and just take a good look at it. Now, with this E-Wing here, you do get the Ahsoka droid, the what is it, the KE-4N4. I haven't taken it out of the package yet because I don't really have any loyalty to this droid right here. It's not anything from all the books and comics and stuff that I used to read back in the 90s. This was just a droid that was on the Ahsoka show, which I did like the Ahsoka show. It wasn't great, but I thought it was solid. But I just don't have any attachment to this droid, so for now I kind of like the way it looks in the package, and I'm just kind of leaving it there and have it displayed on my wall like that. I don't really do inbox collecting, but I don't know. I just kind of didn't really want to take it out of the package. So what I've got in here on the E-Wing is one of my R2s. This is from the Saga collection, I believe, and he fits in there perfectly. So whether it's, you know, vintage collection, Saga collection, all the different versions of the 1/18 scale stuff that's come out over the last, you know, 25 years for Star Wars, I would think most of those droids would actually be able to fit rather well in this little droid slot here. And the way this thing is set up, you've actually got a piece that you can actually take off. And not only have you got your section here for your droid, but you've also got some storage here. I don't know what that's for. I don't know if we've got, you know, you can store weapons, things like that for your figures, blasters, whatever it may be. But you can see we've got the R2 there, and he just tucks neatly down in there. Then you take this piece here, kind of slot it in the back, and then kind of just snap it down like that, and looks pretty damn good. I love the cockpit on this thing as well. Instead of popping up or having a hinge or anything like that, it actually just slides forward like that, which looks really cool. Love it there. And there's some really, really good, I don't know how well this is going to come across, but really nice detailing there in the cockpit. And you see we actually have a flight stick there. We've got, how well that comes across, details there on the console in front of the pilot. Some nice detailing there behind the pilot. Detailing here, as you can see right up here. Really nice stuff there. We've got some nice detailed panels here. Nice detailed panels back here. We've got I forget what these are called. I can't remember. In the original version of this that you saw back in the comics and in some of the resource guides and stuff, this piece right here was much bigger, and that's one of the changes they made. It's kind of like this support piece for the wing, for the S-foils, whatever they're called. And it was much bigger. And actually the wings, if I remember correctly, were maybe up a bit higher and maybe a little bit bigger, because the wings on the original drawings and things like that seemed like a much bigger chunk of the overall ship, and made the fuselage here look a lot smaller. But I actually like what they've done. I like it looks more sleek than it originally did. And one thing I love about all the details and stuff, and I might do this at some point, is this would really, really work well with like a kind of a silver wash over some of these detailed parts in here. And you've got a bunch of stuff there in the bottom where you've got the rear landing gear that actually fold up, and then you can kind of snap these down and close it up like that. Front landing gear kind of goes forward. You've got these two doors that open on the side so you can close it and then snap the doors closed. And it just, lots of nice, really cool detail work done on this thing. Let's take a look at the back here, because you've got some cool detail there on the back as well, right around here, all in the back of the wing and the engine. Everything really, really, really nice. I love the way this thing came out. I do not buy a lot of modern vehicles. Most of the modern vehicles I have, almost all of them, are all vintage modern vehicles, which still work really, really well with modern 1/18 scale figures. In fact, that's most of what I have, and that's what's displayed with all the old school vintage, 80s vehicles that I have. And so I don't buy a lot of these, and there's only been, really only a few of them come out here in the last 20 years. I know we got some vehicles that came out around the prequel series. There was a lot of cool vehicles that came out at that point. I still consider that vintage because that was, 20 years ago or better when those vehicles came out. So I don't collect a lot of new vintage collection vehicles, not that there's been that many of them, but this one just really pops and stands out to me. And especially, like I said, I've loved this thing for over 30 years now. Since I first saw an E-Wing, I thought it was just the coolest ship I had ever seen in Star Wars. And that's kind of what it was supposed to be. As it was created, it was supposed to be like the replacement for the X-Wing. And, the X-Wing being the quote-unquote coolest, fighter jet, fighter ship in the series. This was supposed to be the replacement for that. And in what they now call Star Wars Legends, it was kind of the replacement. And, it's just really cool to finally see it on screen in live action and have a really sweet ass, 1/18 scale version of this. And then real quick, just to kind of show you size-wise how big this thing is. Here is, as I said, I don't have a lot of modern vintage collection ships, but here is my original 1978 in like really, really, really good condition. 1978 Kenner X-Wing. And if we kind of look at it here, look how much bigger this E-Wing is than that X-Wing. Now, That being said, this X-Wing is I mean, if you have it next to a vintage collection figure or even the old school vintage figures back in the day, this thing was smaller than it should have been, but that kind of does show you how big this E-Wing is, and it's just gorgeous, just pretty much across the board. Now, I do want to talk about whether or not it's worth the price. So this thing was $100, $99.99 plus shipping or whatever. Is it worth that? And I would say 100% yes. You know, I mean, when you look at a lot of the other stuff that's out there when it comes to vehicles for figures, and look, I get scale matters, and you know, some people will say, well, 1/18 scale stuff should not be as much money as, let's say, you know, 1/12 scale stuff. I disagree, because it's going to depend on how much plastic and size and things like that. That to me matters more when it comes to price than whether or not what scale it's designed for. This thing has got more detail, more plastic, more moving parts, more integral pieces than any of the McFarlane Batmobiles that have come out, and those things range from $80 to $100. This has got a lot more going on for it, and you know, it's $100. Is it worth it? Yes, and you get a free little figure. Again, not that everybody's going to care about this little guy here, but maybe you do. Now, that being said, is this thing easy to get a hold of? I haven't seen it. I think it was, if I recall last time I checked, it was sold out on Hasbro Pulse. However, you could still get it at the Disney store for that $100 price tag. So that would be probably my recommendation. I mean, check Hasbro Pulse first, but if they don't have it there, check the Disney store to try and get it for that price, because on the aftermarket, I'm already seeing it go for $150 to $200. And it's just not worth that. I mean, it's just not, especially when there are still retail avenues available to pick this thing up. I would definitely lean towards those and not be paying, you know, 1.5 to 2 times what this thing is currently selling for. But there's plenty of people on eBay trying to sell these things. I saw this in sold auctions, just the droid. There was a couple of sold auctions for between $60 and $80. $60 and $80 just for this droid? I mean, look, I know there are Star Wars droid collectors out there. That's cool, but you pay $60 to $80 just for the droid? You might as well have gotten the whole thing at that price. It's absolutely ridiculous. But in the end, yes, I think this is absolutely totally worth $100. I'm very, very happy, very ecstatic to have this in my collection. This has been my favorite Star Wars vessel since around 1991, 1992, and to finally have it in a scale that works with action figures that I collect is absolutely amazing. I'm very, very happy to have it. So that is it, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see me talk about more 1/18 scale stuff, because I don't really talk about it a lot on the channel, primarily because I figure not as many people collect 1/18 scale stuff as collect 1/12 scale stuff, and I do like that stuff as well. Obviously, it's a large portion of my collection, but if you like the 1/18 scale stuff, let me know in the comment section down below. So that is it. I appreciate you guys watching, and always remember to enjoy your collection.